allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon and welcome to the special meeting of the Board of Public Affairs for December 29th, 2022. First item on the agenda is the discussion and election of BPA 2023 officers, chair and vice chair. And I might add before we begin is that in talking to Mr. Long yesterday from sunny Southern California, he said that he would be willing to serve in any capacity that we would need him in, and he authorized me to accept any nominations that we might make in his behalf. So, we have any discussions or anybody that would like to throw their name in? I guess we start with the position of board chair. Does anybody wants to volunteer their name or nominate someone?
I would nominate Dick Long.
Do we need a second for that? Is that okay?
Unless you're just having general discussion right now.
Well, he's not here to contest it, so.
That's what you get, Dick.
I will second.
Okay.
Okay. Tom?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen? Yes.
Okay, now for the position of vice chair. Anyone want to nominate or volunteer?
Would you serve as vice chair if nominated?
If nobody else wants, I suppose I would serve another year as vice chair.
I would like to nominate Jim Salisbury as vice chair.
Second.
Annette?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jim?
Do I abstain? Oh, yes.
And Karen?
Yes.
Whatever's proper, I guess. Okay, next item on the agenda is to act on any other pertinent year-end business. What do you have for us there? Nothing. Anybody? Anything?
You want me to go now? Can you go ahead?
Sure, that'd be fine. Yeah, Jim. Yeah, I understand you want to get something you want to discuss.
Well, I just wanted to bring up what happened this past weekend, why it was fresh in my mind and other people's minds, so that you would understand what kind of cost and what kind of things we endured and why we did those things. What happened Friday evening was later in the afternoon, last Friday on the 23rd, is AMP called for an AEP high, 1 CP. Now, for you to understand, PJM 5 CPs are from June 1st to September 30th. 1 CPs for AEP are from November 1st to October 30th. So this is now for 2023 year, which we would say is the 2024 year. It did not look like it was going to be a high. 2021's high was 21.7. 2021 or 2022's this summer, 2021's was 21.9 and 2020 was 21.6. So nothing was going to hit that point until Friday afternoon, and then it was showing in the 22 range. So obviously it was time to run. Well, what happened then at 7 p.m. is that the PJM website locked up, so that to the point where the 7-day forecast was showing that from 7 p.m. on, it was going to hit 23, 23 and a half, 24 gigawatts, and then into the 24s till midnight, which none of us had ever seen. AMP had never seen it, I had never seen it. It was unprecedented highs. So we kept running even though we hit 22.5 at 5:35 p.m. So we kept running because we were flying blind. And if it hit 24, we had to be online. Everybody had to be online. About 8:30 at night, the website corrected itself, and all the numbers dropped back into the normal range that we would have expected. So, but once again, now we don't know if that's right. So we continued to run until that website kind of stabilized itself, and we could verify that with also the app. that comes from PJM. So we had kind of two sources, and we shut down at 11 p.m.
What day was that, Jim?
That was Friday the
Friday,
23rd. To give you an example, PJM only hit 135,000 that night. Which would be kind of like the 5 CP range. And in the summer, we had hit 147 to 142. So that was our 5 CPs that had happened last summer. On Saturday at 8:45, I got a phone call at home from AMP telling me that PJM had now declared an emergency max generation. And that means that if we don't run, then our behind the generation gets penalized 10% of whatever we did. So if we have $4.5 million, then you automatically lose $450,000 for not running. Automatic, right off the board, for not doing it. The reason why they called that was because of the widespread coldness. For the first time in ever, PJM did not have any excess generation. Not only that, but a lot of the, since a lot of the coal plants and nuclear plants have been shut down and plus 40% are now gas generation, gas valves at that temperature, for those of you who don't know, natural gas is very high in moisture. Actually, places were running out of fuel and gas lines were actually freezing over to the point, and I'll get to all that stuff, but PJM actually suspended all the rules. So you could run natural gas, you could run oil, coal, you could burn wood for all they cared. But all the rules get suspended, emergency requirements are run, and then they go out for bid process right there to get any high generation that's offline. They'll take bids for it, and then they just start going down the list and trying to fulfill until they get enough capacity to hit their reserves again. And what it is say they got 100%, then they have reserves just in case anything happens. Well, if anything touches that reserves, then they start calling an emergency. The whole PJM area was under 5 degrees, and of course that kind of covers from Illinois to the East Coast and from northern Tennessee all the way up to Pennsylvania line. They canceled the event then at 9 p.m. I seen the prices start coming down about 5, which means that the bid process was beginning to happen and they were starting to fill generation up. About 5:30 is when the prices actually came down. On Friday night, typical during the summer, during any kind of peak time, the LPM, which is the locational marginal pricing, which is instantaneous pricing for electrical megawatt per day, is typically when it hits really hot, it goes to $300 or $400. It hit $4,000 on Friday night on the 23rd. It was above $1,000 all night long, and it was at $2,000 most of Saturday. It should that's like 10 to 4 times as high as it's ever been. When I started the price starting coming back down and it's got to the 500s and 400s, I knew that their bidding process, they were getting all their paperwork in line and they were getting stuff online and generating in order to bring power into here. What was happening outside of here, a lot of this I got from an article that was wrote in the Wall Street Journal on the 27th about what happened. So some of this stuff in there. The PJM plants were, first of all, just some natural gas stuff. At every 100 psi that it drops, which happens when it comes into a city, you lose 7 degrees. A lot of pipelines are pushing 5,000 psi, and when they come in and start dropping, that freezes it. GT2 out at Lawrence Sub, we actually Friday night froze the natural gas meter up out there. So we have to do some calculations to figure out how much fuel we actually use, but they had to come out Saturday morning and unfreeze the meter because it froze up. All the coal and nuclear plants take 48 hours to ramp up, so that wasn't going to work. Actually, some of the generators, they told them they could switch to oil immediately. Tennessee, maybe you heard this on the news, Tennessee, North Carolina did rolling blackouts because they had no gas. New York has an embargo on the New England states that they cannot build any new pipelines, so they have a limited pipe. So they were doing blackouts in Maine, New Hampshire, and all those places also. Bob did a great job for us. I was on the phone with him Saturday making sure we had gas and stuff, and he kept us in fuel. Also, one of the things that everybody fails to remember in this, and I use the kind of quotation marks as green initiative, is we as a nation are going really fast trying to switch to electricity without having enough infrastructure, not only electrically, but gas-wise in place. And an electric furnace to heat your home takes twice as much gas to generate the kilowatts for that. So you're using twice as much gas as if you would have had an actual gas furnace to actually heat your home. Because of the inefficiency below 32 degrees of electric furnaces. And that was right out of FERC's past chairman, Pat Wood. So that's his quote. Texas Grid was also at the same place. They were generating double the gas usage they normally use. So in order to do all that, Ohio Gas would have to secure gas for us. Now, in the gas industry, you know that you have to do it a day ahead of time. If you don't, then you get penalized. It's kind of like the same way as the LNP price for us, is if you have an open market and you buy the electricity when it's really hot and the price is high, you pay more for it. Well, if you don't do that on the gas side, you also pay a penalty. The gas traded on Saturday tipped from $20 to $50 per decatherm, which is that's double to 5 times the cost of a decatherm if you had planned that. So we have to pay a penalty, and Bob got us on the $20 range. So that's why there's kind of a higher bill than you would think for those 2 days. But that's good because we still saved from running. We hit a peak on Friday, so that gives us typically our very high returns on savings if that holds for the whole year. Saturday would have been another basic $100,000, but that saved us the $450,000 we would have lost if we would not have ran for the 10% penalty from PJM. Now I just gave you a whole bunch of information, and I can see by your eyes that you're trying to absorb it, but it may be very difficult. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. I tried to go through all this stuff is to conserve time and
Did they not anticipate something
Nobody.
with all this?
no.
You know, we had a long time of notification.
We did have a long time of notification, but typically the cold air, if you notice, it kind of does an upside down bell curve from Canada, so it kind of sweeps along like this. Well, it swept along from Colorado, and then this part stopped and this part went on. And it literally from Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, all the way to the East Coast, and it hung around for 2 days. Nobody expected it to hang around but overnight Friday. And then it was supposed to start to go up from the original forecast, but it didn't. And you're right, PJM had no anticipation for that, because usually PJM, like for instance, AEP this coming year dropped their megawatt day cost from 50 to 35 because AEP has so much generation that they have finally built up in capacity over the years. So that's why that cost dropped. But because the entire PJM area was below zero, we had no place to pull from. So we had to pull from outside, but there was nobody pulling from outside because they were all generating too. And so they had to fire up plants that were idle in order to get enough, and that took most of the day on Saturday to get them fired up. And a lot of places that use natural gas, because natural gas was limited because of how much was being generated, and no coal plants or the nuclear plants were all idle. It took a while to get some of those high cost places back up. So yeah, we kind of got caught with our hands in our pockets, so to speak.
What about the freeze-ups, Jim? I mean, as far as like the meters and the valves and stuff, I mean, I don't know that we have control of any of the valves, but I mean, is there anything we could do to prevent the meters from freezing up?
No, if you've ever been by the NAE on the Bend Road, the NAE
Yeah.
Substation there,
Yeah.
do you ever see that boiler that's sitting in the middle
Yeah.
of it? That's the whole reason for that, is to preheat the gas as it's coming through, so that it does raise, keep the temperature up even though it's being pressurized. You know, as you pressurize gas, it gets cold. And as soon as you release it like Freon, it just freezes up. And so that's what they do multiple places, even the A&R pipeline and the other one that's across on 66 there north of Defiance. They have big heaters in them to warm the gas back up before it goes back out. But they were flowing maximum rates on all the pipes, and the heaters couldn't keep up.
It's hard for me to believe that, that they would open up, like to use oil and stuff, because I know, I'm no mechanic, but I know when it gets really cold like that, oil gets thick and it's hard to burn. You see,
Sure.
semis have trouble
Right.
with their fuel sometimes.
Well, most of the tanks have heaters on them.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah. But they also ran, an AMP ran every diesel that they had in the system for AMP both days. I can't imagine what it's going to cost to fill those tanks up at $5, $6 a gallon. They're going to have a bigger bill than we are.
And Jim, you mentioned your name Bob a couple times.
Bob Iyer from Ohio Gas.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I called him Saturday morning as soon as I got off the phone with AMP, and the control guy says, yeah, I'll get it taken care of. I knew he was going to be calling me back. And within 15 minutes, Bob was in there, and we were trying to secure the fuel for the day. And Bob was telling me, Jim, please give me a deadline. I says, the best I can give you is 8 p.m. It went to 9.
But
So
he saved us a lot of money.
they saved us money.
Yeah. Next time I see him playing tennis, I'll have to thank him.
Yeah, he did a great job for us.
Good for him.
And and that's what he said. He goes, I just thought that if I keep you running, it'll pay off for Bryan. So
Good.
I'm like, it did.
Sure did. Yeah, we'll have to give him a big thanks.
Yep. Any
Because
other
we've had cold
questions?
weather before, but that was kind of.
Well, this was just so widespread. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's that up-down bell curve usually comes across the country, you know, and it gets real cold. And we'll run the morning, night, maybe the next morning, and then it kind of warms up. Well, when that western part stalled and it kept going towards the east, I guess
The rest is history.
it just kept getting colder and colder and colder.
Oh, it did. It really did. Okay.
Yeah, and it lasted, what, 3 days?
That's the problem.
At
Yeah,
50,
usually
what,
it's a day and a
50?
half to yeah, that 3 days really,
It wasn't the snow, it was the wind and the 50-mile-an-hour gusts. and
right.
Black swan event, as they call it.
Let's hope that none of us get to see it again in our career.
Yeah, when I'm sitting at home in my all-electric home and you just pray that the lights don't go out. And I don't have any fire.
And that's the thing, even if you have a gas furnace, if the electric goes out, you don't have any fan.
Yeah,
So,
it's true. It's true. Okay. Thank you, Jim.
anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Kind of scary to think about how close we came. Okay, next item is to affect semi-monthly disbursements. Can I have a motion to pay the bills, please?
I'd like to make a motion, we pay the bills?
I'll second.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And it's not on the agenda, but let's go around the room for comments. Did you have anything you wanted to say, Derek?
Just want to thank Jim and the whole team over there for all their work Friday and Saturday, and for our electric crews that went out on a couple calls, and the water crews did as well. Also, congratulations to Kevin Ballmer. Tomorrow is his last day. We wish him a happy retirement. That's it.
Sorry.
I too would like to thank Jim and the crew. I actually was texting with Nate on Friday night, trying to see how the guys were doing, because I knew it was getting pretty chilly out there, and getting a little concerned about how much overtime he might be running or anything else. But I know the concerns for everybody's heat, and the operation he had to do was just incredible. So thank you. And also congratulations to Kevin for his years of service to the city.
Mr. Betts? No. Mayor?
Hi.
Hiya. How are
I
you?
apologize for my delay in coming.
Happens.
I too do want to thank Jim and all of the employees at BMU and the city employees. I think this storm was something that none of us wanted to see, and all departments came out in full force to get the community through. So very proud of all of them, grateful for everyone. Thank you.
Jen, got anything else you'd like to add?
I guess the one thing that I did forget is that, and Lori kind of reminded me of this, is because of it being Christmas and a lot of the industry being down, we were able to actually push 20 megawatt back onto the grid.
Wow,
So we kept Bryan completely taken care of. So
that's great.
Pretty awesome.
it's just nice to be able to help other people out.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Jackie? Mr. Sprout?
Congratulations to Kevin Ballmer on his retirement and all his years of service here. Thanks to Jim and the crews here that kept things going. It's those things that happen behind, we don't see until it's explained to us what was going on. We had no idea. So, yeah, good work. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing, Jim, story, the workmanship that you guys do, the teamwork that you all put together, and then you still put the 20 meg back out there. That's really a great story for Bryan, and that's part of why we invested into our system, is so that we can cover not only ourselves, but to help others as well. So, good job, and wish Kevin Ballmer great retirement, and everybody happy New Year.
I'm going to say happy retirement to Kevin. Enjoy the fruits of your retirement. Congratulations to the new chair and vice chair for 2023. Jim, thanks to your crew and to you and brutal weather conditions out there to work in. Thanks for a great team for BMU, and very, very grateful for everything that this utility represents. And Happy New Year, and everyone, please be safe out there. Even though the weather's going to be nice, that doesn't, still everybody be safe.
Yes. Congratulations to Kevin. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Jim, it seems like every time we talk to you, it's something, your guys just always come through. They always do. And like I say, it's a little bit scary how close you come sometimes when weather like that hits. And I guess you don't realize it when you're sitting at home and the heat's on and the light's on. You don't realize what's going on behind the scenes. That's kind of the whole program, really, because well, even the Christmas lights downtown. I mean, I helped put Christmas lights up for the 30 years that I worked here, but I don't think they ever looked any better than this year. Whoever's responsible, they did a really fine job. And as far as the cold weather goes, I remember from the years working here, there's no place colder than being down in the bottom of a muddy hole when you have a water leak, or being 50 foot in the air in your gloves and sleeves working energized conductors. It's a rough way to go. So really appreciate everything all those guys did. I guess that's all I have. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
One second.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.